Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have a brand new deck tech for you, but before that, just a quick reminder to please click like and subscribe if you enjoy my videos. We're well on our way to 1 million subscribers and every single click counts. And today's deck tech is going to be centered around Kellan the Kid. For 1 green, 1 white, and 1 blue, it's a legendary creature, human fairy rogue, 3/3 with flying, lifelink, and whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may cast a permanent spell with equal or less than mana value from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. So Kellen is a super cool value commander that's going to provide you with lots and lots of gas throughout the game. It should be very difficult to run out of gas with a deck like this because basically almost any spell we cast from anywhere other than our hand is going to provide us extra value or put a land onto the battlefield. That means that Kellen works very well with a bunch of different mechanics such as Discover, Cascade, Suspend, Foretell, Adventure, and many more. And we're going to be dipping into most of those abilities and trying to play a bunch of cards that are going to allow us to keep a full hand, because that's going to be very important in a deck like this to fully take advantage of his ability. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started, and we're starting off with Apex Devastator. This is a great top end, and having 4 Cascade triggers means we're going to get 4 Kellen triggers, which is obviously absolutely insane. Not only that, but we should be able to hit the mana to cast it fairly easily thanks to all the lands that Kellen is going to be putting into play. Avacyn's Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise, and Delighted Halfling are 3 ways that we can ramp into our commander on turn 2, which is something that the deck is very interested in doing. Battle Mammoth is an excellent one to foretell. It kind of slides very nicely into our curve because we can do this on 2, play Kellen, and then on 4, play Battle Mammoth and get a trigger off of Kellen. Beanstalk Giant is great because early on we can just use it to ramp a little bit, and then later in the game we're going to get a huge beater that's actually also going to trigger our commander. Beast Whisperer is one of the ways we're going to keep our hand full by constantly drawing whenever we play a creature spell. Tulane Teller of Tales is another way we can keep our hand full by drawing a bunch of cards, and it's also going to help us ramp a little bit, and this deck is fairly mana hungry. Cosmos Charger is in the deck because we're running quite a few foretell spells. It's decent to foretell on its own, but it does allow us to really go off with all of our other foretell cards. Dazzling Sphinx is going to trigger Kellen every single turn as long as it connects. That's obviously really good. Deep Sea Kraken is great because it has a very high mana value, but we can suspend it for very cheap, which means that it's going to trigger Kellen for a bunch when we get to cast it. Doc Orlok Grizzled Genius is going to work very nicely with all of the cards that we have that are casting from zones other than our hand. Elian Allen Paleontologist is a really fun card that allows us to reuse resources from our graveyard to get a nice Discover trigger, which is going to trigger Kellen. Ethereal Valkyrie is one of the best cards in the deck. It gives us a nice bit of card selection and allows us to foretell most of the cards in our deck. Fabilithipa Lost on the Range is obviously really nice here. Giving all of the cards on top of our library plot means that we can get to trigger our commander very often. Glorious Protector is a nice one to foretell and then come in and protect all of our creatures from a board wipe or something. Green Slime is yet another fun foretell card that can actually really mess with our opponents and destroy an artifact or enchantment. Emoti Celebrant of Bounty is a card that I've always really liked. It comes in with a Cascade automatically, so that would already be enough to include it in the deck, but we do have quite a few expensive cards which are going to trigger it. Kellen, Inquisitive Prodigy, and Tail the Suspect are both pretty great in this deck. Investigating and putting an additional land into play is obviously quite nice, and then when we get to cast it, it's going to trigger our commander, which is the other Kellen, and then we can actually destroy artifacts or our own clues as we see fit. Luna Hatchling does a couple of things in the deck. First off, a basic land cycling effect is very nice to make sure that we always have mana, but then later on in the game we can escape it to trigger Kellen, which is really nice. Osgood Operation Double might not seem that interesting, but it's actually very powerful. So for starters, we're going to get a copy of it immediately, and they both have the Paradox ability, which then means that each time we cast anything from anywhere other than our hand, we're immediately getting a clue token. That would already be great, but if we tap both of them, we basically get to sack a clue for free every turn cycle, which is very nice. Outcaster Trailblazer is a really solid one to plot, and it can actually draw us a few cards in this deck too. Sage of the Beyond is yet another way to discount cards from anywhere other than our hand, and it comes with foretell itself, so that's very nice. Sakajima's Protege has always been a good card, but then being able to also trigger our commander with the Cascade just pushes it over the edge. Shardless Agent is basically always going to hit either ramp or removal, and we're pretty happy with both of those. Sisterhood of Karn should get very, very big in the deck with all of the cards we're playing from zones other than our hand. Slickshot Lockkeeper is like a toned down version of Snapcaster Mage, but in this deck it's really good because it's going to trigger our commander twice. Snapcaster Mage is also in the deck because it's going to be triggering our commander whenever we flash anything back back from the graveyard. Sweet Gum Recluse can be pretty good since we're going to resolve the Cascade spell and the Kellen trigger before this comes into play, which means that we can get to put a bunch of counters on stuff with this. The Foretold Soldier is one of the best cards in the deck. We can just keep casting it from exile over and over, which is going to trigger our commander. The 13th Doctor is also very good because it's going to distribute +1/+1 counters around whenever we cast something from anywhere other than our hand. Figure the Watcher is going to make sure that our hand stays nice and full. And Woodland Acolyte is very nice. It gives us a little bit of permanent recursion and then draws a card. For sorceries, we have Contest of Claws. This can be pretty good when we have a big creature in play. We get to fight, kill something, and then discover. Doomscar is a board wipe that we can foretell. People don't tend to see this one coming, and it can be a blowout. Feral Encounter is a really solid one in the deck because it's basically going to give us some removal and then also allow us to play a creature from exile. Inspiring Refrain keeps casting itself from exile and triggering our commander over and over. Make Your Own Luck seems like it could be very powerful. We're basically going to draw 3 cards, but then we can plot one of them, which is very nice. I can totally imagine hitting something like Apex Devastator with this and just being absolutely game-winning. Plan the Heist is another really solid plot card that's going to allow us to trigger our commander. Raven Form is very nice removal that happens to have Foretell. Search for Tomorrow has Suspend, which means it's going to cast from exile when it finally comes in. Spelltwine is a very interesting one that can allow us to cast 2 things from exile, which basically means we're going to get 2 triggers from our commander. Unexpected Results is an absolute meme of a card that can give us a lot of value and also trigger our commander. And Venture Forth is one of the best cards in the deck. It's going to keep casting itself from exile and ramping us every 3 turns. For instance, we have Behold the Multiverse, which is a nice draw spell that we can foretell. Cosmic Intervention is a card we can foretell that's going to prevent our permanents from being destroyed. Gale's Redirection can be a really fun one. We steal something from our opponents and we get to cast it for free from exile. Natural Reclamation is a nice piece of removal that gets to cascade. Sword Coming is a counter spell that we can just leave foretold until we need it. And for artifacts, we have Sword of Forge and Frontier. This can be very good because we are playing the cards from exile. The Key to the Vault seems like it could be very good on one of our flying creatures or on Deep Sea Kraken. It's going to allow us to play an exile card without paying its mana cost. And Wondrous Crucible is a card I've wanted to try for a while. It's going to give our permanents a little bit of protection, and it's also going to mill us and exile something at random every turn that we're going to get to cast for free. For enchantments, we have Elven Chorus. This is going to work very well with all the creatures we're running in the deck, and it does allow us to cast stuff from the top of our library. One with the Multiverse also allows us to cast stuff from the top of our library, and it's going to let us play 1 spell per turn for free, which is incredibly powerful. And Ristic Study is just going to make sure that we keep a full hand, but this isn't really essential, and you can totally substitute it for something else. For lands, I just wanted to highlight Hidden Cataract, Hidden Courtyard, and Hidden Nursery. These are all lands that are going to sacrifice themselves to allow us to discover. That's obviously very in theme with what the deck is trying to do, and it's great to have them on a land slot that don't really cost us much other than coming in tapped. So there you have it. That has been my Kellen the Kid deck tech. What do you think about this one? I'm actually going to be sleeving this one up myself because I think it's very fun. I've never really had a Bant deck, and I just look forward to having this absolute value machine of a deck that should be very fun to pilot. But what do you think? Are there any cards I missed? Any things you think I shouldn't have included? Let me know in the comment section below. I always make sure to read all of your comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care.